I see it time and time again. Leadership doesn't care, the employees aren't going to care.
Really excited for today's video. I'm joined today by one of my friends and colleagues, Felipe Cofiño. Felipe is a human resources expert and executive, a top voice on LinkedIn, a best-selling author, and just a proponent for putting the human in human resources. And with all of the evolution of technology and the current buzz around artificial intelligence, sometimes we forget that one of the most powerful tools inside an organization is the people and the human resources aspect of that. So, you have a line that I love, that success shouldn't create a culture, the culture creates success. And I think a lot of leaders kind of nod to that. But what's the real difference between an environment a culture that, embodies and creates the success, and how do you get that right?
A lot of times when we focus on success first, we focus on the financials. We focus on getting the money and making sure that we have financial success. But when you lose top talent along the way, that financial success is not going to be sustainable. So having a culture that is strong, that is one of trust, transparency, one that is investment in learning, that really is, I think, a huge part of why people can be successful. If you did a comparison about how much we invest in technology to keep it up to date and make sure it's working, and compare that to the percentage of how much we invest in our human beings, you'd be shocked. We should be investing just as much, if not more in some cases, in the human beings and the culture, because they're the ones that are going to be sustainable. They're the ones that are going to help us grow and promote the company and be those ambassadors for you.
You say that you put the human in human resources. So what does that look like for you? What advice would you give companies in thinking about that aspect of how to deliver on that?
For me, putting the human back in human resources is making sure that we recognize that people have the ability to do so much for you. But if you are not investing in them, if you're not taking care of them, if you're not being emotionally intelligent enough to recognize what they're going through, they're going to end up leaving you and finding someone that does. We have to look at everyone in the company and look at both sides of them and recognize that if you care about the success of your company, you care about every one of those people. And as a human being, if I'm not acting human, not being realistic and resonating, people aren't going to come to me and trust me.
From an HR perspective, what do you think the real reason is that employees will check out of a company?
I think leadership isn't leading by example. They're not engaged, because when leadership leads by example and demonstrates the behaviors that they want the employees to do, they're going to practice it themselves. I had a CEO that was very involved in fitness, in health, in financial wealth. He led by example. Not only did he lead by example, he got engaged. Mm-hmm. He challenged people. He called people out. He wanted the challenges that we had to be fun and engaging. So, and don't put it all on the CEO. HR leaders, CFOs, directors of marketing, any leadership role you have, it's up to you to lead by example. If you're a manager of a new department, lead by example, because these are the things that are going to make you stand out, and it's going to make an impact and get people engaged. I see it time and time again. Leadership doesn't care, the employees aren't going to care. Leadership cares about it, the employees are more engaged.
From your lens, going to identify 2 or 3 tips for human resources executives or for leadership teams on how to operate in today's environment, what would those be?
First and foremost, if you're not using AI at any level, you need to get involved. It's the way of the future. You can become a dinosaur and become extinct. But you using AI intelligently to help people grow, help people become educated, teach them a tool, but give them the guidelines. I wrote a policy around AI policy of, hey, here's what we want you to try and play around with, but here's what you can't do, and don't feed it confidential information or personal identifiable information. But there's so much value in today's world because AI, there's a few things that AI cannot do. They have not invested a lot in this. They have not invested in compassion, in emotional intelligence, in enthusiasm, encouragement, which encouragement you think it does. No, it gives you pleasing answers. And then the other thing is physics. For anyone who creates images, have you ever created an image on AI and all of a sudden the person has 3 arms or the foot behind them is in front of them? So AI is still working on improving things, but the human emotions, it has not invested in that. And one thing that you got to realize is that people are going to be curious. That curiosity, AI is not mastered yet. So when you're dealing with human beings and trying to find a solution to a problem, that curiosity that the humans bring is invaluable.
Thanks so much for joining us here for a little bit today. Again, Felipe Cofiño, top voice on LinkedIn. I'm sure they can find you there. Anywhere else that you're around where people can find you?
I do put all the videos I do for the shows I do about workplace wellness, and I do a show on careers casting coaching as well as future ready voices. All that can be found on YouTube as well. So feel free to subscribe there.
All right, check them out on YouTube, on LinkedIn. Great to see everybody. We'll see you next time.
Adios.